So, no mai haere mai, and welcome to the submissions hearing for the Cromwell Racecourse Reserve Management Plan. Welcome to all the people in this first round of submitters who we're about to hear from you, which we're really looking forward to. It's been lots of community engagement, which is great because this is a draft plan, and obviously the feedback that we get helps us as we make deliberations, which the meeting for that will be next week. It's too big a day for us to assimilate all the information we're getting and then to make those deliberations. So that meeting will be held next week. Before we move any further, however, I just need to go through the apologies. We have an apology today from Councillor Sarah Brown and an apology from Mary Connell. So can I have a mover and a second? Thank you. Cheryl, so it's Bob and Cheryl, all in favour? Thank you, carried. So, yeah, just a reminder to stand aside from any items that there may be a perceived or actual conflict of interest. It's important for members to recognise those and to stand aside from decision making and conversation in those circumstances. And then that takes us directly into our items for today, which are essentially a public forum where we've got all of our submitters presenting for us. You'll see us on our devices. It's so that we can be looking at your submission while you speak. So thank you for having the written submission as well as what you're going to share with us today. I'm going to hand over to Gordy, who's just going to set some parameters for what we're here to do today.
Yeah, so this meeting is in two parts. So today will be the oral submission to the draft plan, and then next week we'll consider the written submissions and what you've heard today, and also start comments on those submissions as well. This is very much a draft plan. Nothing's been decided. We'll get those sort of discussions next week, and then once decided next week, we'll flow on to your September meeting for hopefully a draft to go to council. So yeah, the meeting is just to get people today. There are staff here. If you've got any questions, if somebody brings up any support today, we'll try and do that, or come back to you with an answer next week's meeting. So
right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Righty ho. And our first presenter this afternoon is Joe Fife. So yeah. If not, Caitlin, we'll start with you, and then Joe arrives, we can move back to the
we were just going to stand.
Have a sit where Gordy was under the front. You can stand as well if you would prefer, feel better presenting from standing. That's all good. Thank you, Caitlin.
Right. Horse dies after being fed too many apples by drink passes. Woman suffers spinal injuries after being plunged from horse stunned by a dog. Horse rider of Cromwell airlifted to hospital after collision with a fish dog. The last headline happened in Cromwell, USA. But if the proposal goes ahead as it stands, it's not far-fetched to believe the next one could come from our small town. These aren't freak accidents, they are predictable outcomes when horses in public mix without proper controls. Hi, I'm Caitlin, and I've been a grazer at Racecourse Reserve for 10 years. I want to be clear, I'm not against the growth of facilities. What I am opposed to is growth at the expense of another sporting group. The plan as it stands raises many questions in areas that have not been considered. Firstly, the proposal eliminates any potential growth by relocating the only grazing growth zone, by relocating the only paddocks with natural shelter from the hill and trees into the most exposed paddocks. With no shelters, they also have no established pasture or fencing and no irrigation. Eliminating these paddocks means that we cannot accommodate long-standing waiting lists for grazing, effectively preventing new horse owners from relocating to Cromwell. This directly limits horse ownership in a town where land is unaffordable for most, especially young families and professionals. Leaving a reserve is the only realistic option for many. Reducing grazing also removes the possibility to host the racing fraternity over the summer months. It makes it impossible to hold a major equestrian events like the Springstone Trophy held in 2023, as there would be limited capacities of visiting horses and no alternatives nearby. Losing any paddock space would be a major setback for the equestrian community, the sport, and Cromwell's ability to host future events. As a grader of 10 years, I've seen firsthand the ongoing struggle over water allocation. The proposal claims that more bores will be approved if needed, but this isn't credible. The Rippenvale scheme and the current bore have already failed to meet current demand. And with no investigation being undertaken to prove that more water is actually available, sports fields will require a large continuous supply to maintain safe turf. If water remains limited, who takes priority? Animal welfare or sports fields? While we accept that the reserve is a public space, there is currently little to no guidance or education on how the public should safely interact with large, flighty and unpredictable animals. The risks are real and they're not hypothetical. In the past 2 weeks alone, I have personally had members of the public enter the grazing areas trying to feed horses, and I have had to say that mine cannot eat apples, and I cannot personally speak to any of the other horses in the area. I have also had people out on their daily walks walk straight through the middle of a training session, putting themselves, the horse, and myself at risk. This isn't about me being precious about someone having my horse. It's about genuine animal welfare, and a well-meaning mistake of feeding a horse an apple could cost it its life. Dogs are another major risk. While organised agility events are controlled and well welcomed with us, the proposal is unclear on day-to-day access and enforcement. Many dogs have little recall, and those unfamiliar with horses may instinctively chase them, risking injury to a horse, rider, or dog. The responsibility, liability, and costs are unclear, and by the time an incident occurs, it'll be too late. Reducing the only cross-country track in the Lower South Island would be devastating. Riders from across Otago and Southland rely on this facility, as the next closest one is in Canterbury. Over the past month, it has been fully booked every weekend and well utilised for this upcoming season. Placing sports fields at the northern end would make training unsafe. Most horses cannot jump safely with whistles blowing, children running, and balls flying. Scheduling conflicts are inevitable as sports seasons overlap. Multi-sports facilities combining equestrian and bull sports do not exist worldwide. Where both cohabitate, they are deliberately separated with lots of fences, gates, parking, and buildings, and tight scheduling, and this is for sheep safety and welfare. This proposal would be a world first and a risky one. Accidents happen, but risk should be reduced, not increased. The plan provides no safe segregation, and safe segregation would take away adequate riding space and eliminates hacking alternatives needed to prevent horses from souring in arenas. My email written submission goes into more detail. I'm not against growth and multi-use, but the current proposal is unsafe, disregards animal welfare, and completely sidelines equestrian sport and grazing growth opportunities. I'd like to see proper viability studies carried out and the actual need for outdoor sports fields. In 10 years' time, yes, more sports fields may be required, but right now there's greater priority for likes of the use of an indoor facility for netball, basketball, dance, gymnastics, etc. There is so much more I could say on this matter, but my time is limited, so I welcome the chance to consult with the board further to find a more workable solution for everyone. That is the proposal currently stands. I urge you to rethink and explore alternatives.
Thank you, Caitlin. Any questions or comments from the floor? Yes, James.
I've just got 2 quick questions, Bess. The first one is, when I had horses, only really rich people had floats, but now it seems like people wanting to float their horses quite a long distance to not only compete but also ride. What's the, I guess the uptake of that at the Cromwell Racecourse currently? Do most people ride there, or are they floating elsewhere? And
We need to rely on the riding ground. Like my horse, I physically cannot float him. I would need a truck. I can't afford a truck. So I rely on the ground to ride. And yeah, there's only 4 graziers out of everyone that actually have floats there. So we rely on the grounds to be able to ride safely.
And one more question, if it's
Yeah.
I think it's the Clyde Pony Club has the lease on Beasley Fort Reserve at Alexandra that also has a cross country course on it. How familiar are you with that and why that hasn't been utilised to the way we anticipated
My understanding is that the fly pony club cross country is actually on private land, and so it needs to be scheduled and having like training days. You can't link up and train there.
It's, been reassured, we should release on that.
Yeah, so that was my understanding. Yeah, but I'm not sure why like pony clubs cross country is not open versus from. But I do know that the fly doesn't have like the standard of jumps as Cromwell does and has investment into it.
It is underutilized and but gently cut. There are potential. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. Oh, you've got a
Yes,
question?
just a quick question, Caitlin. If I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying it's not that it can't happen, but it needs to be done better than what's been proposed.
Yes.
That's what I picked up was the key thing.
More than happy to come up with better solutions, but the way it is proposed, it doesn't work for the main users.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll circle back to Joe Fife. Welcome, Joe.
I'll introduce myself. My name is Joe Fife. I'm a planner by background and I've got over 20 years of planning experience in the industry, both in the public sector and the private sector within the New Zealand and overseas. I'm employed by a company called ROA as Chief Operating Officer, who's a wonderful based property investment company where the properties that we want to invest in don't exist yet, so we are creating them. Our first project is a hospital and health precinct in Wanaka. With regards to ROA's submission to the plan, we have identified that this is a real unique opportunity to plan for and provide for the inevitable future growth of Cromwell and the wider region by providing for the necessary social infrastructure to support such growth. The three identified social infrastructure activities suggested in our submission are healthcare, education, and affordable or community housing, all of which could be appropriately accommodated in addition to recreation space within the Racecourse Reserve, given its scale and its location. Cromwell has been growing at an average rate of 4.9% over the past 5 years, which is more than 3 times the national average, according to COBC's population growth figures. And in the past and present, it's commonplace in New Zealand to be reactive to growth rather than prepare and forward plan for it. For example, Waikato region is boosting its seams before the government allocates funding to education or healthcare services, or the private sector takes it into their hands to solve. We, or COBC, are now at a point where we have the benefit of time and foresight to forward plan the necessary infrastructure that will support this further significant growth in the region. This opportunity of a well-connected parcel of land in proximity to the Cromwell town centre of this size and nature within the council's control and ownership is unique, and one that could be captured to enable the strategic forward planning and provide for the necessary social infrastructure to support the future growth of Cromwell and the wider region. Happy to take questions.
I see that the comments from staff have been around the designation of the land as reserve, and that there isn't under its current designation that the uses that you've described couldn't be included on that parcel of land. Is there anything further to add to that? No, that's yeah.
Yes, so I have done a bit of research on around that, and it's how to look at and enable other uses. So there's multiple different layers of it. So first of all, it's the Reserve Act 1977. So there is a pathway to be able to revoke the reserve status of the land. So the Minister of Conservation would need to approve the revocation of the reserve status. And that's section 13.2 of the Act. And then that is open to affected parties to make objections to that. And so I assume that would go through a hearing process, solutions, something like this. There's also the Cromwell Racecourse Reserves Act 1876, but I understand that that has been essentially taken over by the Reserve Act 77, and is no longer relevant. Then there is also the district plan component. So the CODC district plan has a designation 81 for recreation purposes. To revoke the designation district plan, the requiring authority, which is CODC, must formally notify the territorial authority, which is CODC, and other potentially affected parties. So that would be the leaseholders, etc., and neighbours, probably the community as well. The territorial authority is then required to amend the district plan to remove the designation. And then there's again kind of lower down through the district plan component, you've got to change the zoning to be able to enable different uses within a lake. So once all of those components have been progressed, then you go through a full master planning of the site and the consultation would have feelings that those whole processes as well. Once the pathway and the new zoning of each part of the land is known, a plan change to the district plan would need to occur. This is a publicly notified process, typically led by the council for this type of scenario, and provides the public the ability to make submissions to be heard. Now there's a little bit of a hitch there. Central government have recently put a hold on all local government led plan changes until the resource management reform has been known.
That's at the end of a very long list of things, however, which would take a
Correct.
very long time. Yeah.
So once that happens, then we're on this path. So I guess long story short, there is a pathway through each of the different layers of legislation.
Any further questions or comments on that?
I was just going to say it's a long and winding road though, isn't it?
Oh, of course, it's not easy, but forward thinking for growth is not going to be a quick, easy process. So it's what I'm saying is it's an opportunity here to be able to plan and future plan for the growth that's going to be happening anyway. So it's just it's a unique big parcel of land within council's ownership that could be used for those purposes.
You mentioned before you started, you actually mentioned that you were based in Wanaka.
Yeah.
And from what I gathered, you were actually working on a project in Wanaka, is that correct?
That's right. Yeah.
So how does the Cromwell sort of extension of that?
Yeah, I guess it's, as you say, it's an extension of that. So we're neighbouring districts. The work that we've done on the health precinct and hospital in Wanaka has really highlighted the need for forward planning for our districts, including Queenstown, Cromwell, Alex, and Wanaka. So it's a pretty hot topic, really, with the inevitable growth that's going to be happening. So why not use the resource we've got at the moment to pay for it?
Okay.
Neil, you had a question?
Yeah, you note in your submission about the spatial plan for Cromwell, contemplating doubling in 30 years. It's my understanding that plan change 19 is just near all but finalised now. The environmental appeals will do that without this land. Without including this land, the plan change 19 is zoned enough land for Cromwell's growth in the next 30 years.
For housing?
Yes.
Yes. So what I'm saying is that affordable housing is a component that's possibly not taken into account so much in the plan change 19. And could be council led, could be the CHO, community housing providers. That council to be able to provide that community housing. I don't understand if it's not taken into account.
I think the plan does pretty clearly the amount of residential growth required, whether it be affordable housing or other types of housing. And the community expressed a pretty clear desire not to invade its rural facing land at this point in time. So just
and then the social infrastructure as well. So I mean it's all good and well as a town planner. I mean I'm all for housing, but it's also important to make sure that you've got the full breadth of infrastructure to support that housing to make it a successful district.
Yeah. But it doesn't need to be the racecourse reserve, it could be like this land, rural land.
It could
So,
be, yeah, it could be, absolutely, but again, this is just, it's an opportunity that, you know, you've got a bit of fork in the road here, when you're looking at what you can do with the land. And, there's not many other pieces of land that are so well connected that are within council's control or ownership and of the size and prepping flat. That could have promoted such, so it's exciting.
Thanks.
Thank you for your time, Joe.
Thank you.
Appreciated. Our next submitter is Grant Harris.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome back.
How you going? I guess my position on this is, it starts back in, 2015, when it was proposed to, the draft Cromwell Sports Reserves Management Plan for the Cromwell Community Board on August 5th, 2015. And, submitted on that plan, and, just sort of identifying the same things that I saw back then as what needs to be addressed now still. Main issues are around that parking around Anderson Park, not so much concerned with what's going on with the racecourse, I guess, from that perspective. More about around Anderson Park and the way that it is run, the way that it's you know, the parking around it, and the facilities and the sports grounds themselves in regard to what the makeup of that will look like in the future and how that is going to benefit the community going forward. That's my main concern, is how's that going to work, and with what I've seen in the diagrams in regards to the information provided, it's sort of still shooting under par with it. So just wanted to carry on that discussion, I guess.
So what would your possible solution be?
Well, I submitted a plan, 2015, and I do have obviously another derivative, with me, if that's of any interest to anyone, which provides for, access of 114 new car parks, which would be associated with the, Cromwell hockey turf and the, rugby grounds, etc., which would flow onto the, Cromwell College Auditorium sports grounds. And, you know, I think everyone who lives in Cromwell's probably driven down Barry Ave on a Friday night or a Saturday, and there's cars parked along the side of the road, the area between the swimming pool, hockey turf, the grassy area in front of the car park is generally occupied with vehicles constantly. And I mean, it's not, you don't need to be a rocket scientist to pick up that we need some extra parking along that stretch of road, first and foremost, and then the ability to put in facilities. I think it was back in 2017, which was I think led by the QLDC for secret sub-regional sport and recreation facilities strategy. But I don't know what happened to that, but it did happen, obviously, which was going to be partnered with Central Otago District Council, QLDC, Sport New Zealand, Sport Otago, Sport South and Central Lakes Trust, Otago Community Trust, and the Community Trust Southland. You guys probably know more about that than I, as to what happened with that and why it didn't go ahead, or, you know. And I think that the focus of that was to, you know, identify regions and zones amongst Central Otago to possibly pick on to facilitate one activity more than others. For example, we've got a pretty good hockey turf there. So ideally we should probably get another hockey turf, in my opinion, to facilitate that, which would give the ability for a lot more tournaments, which would, I felt, you know, impact on our hospitality sector and things like that, with regards to, you know, people accommodating, going visiting things. So it's just those things. I think the report has some real merit in regards to focusing on specific areas and developing them as sports grounds in entirety for a certain sport than another, which, you know, that's about zone, it's got a pretty good, you know, cricket, pretty good cricket environment, most sorts of things. So, yeah, that's pretty much where I come from and what my thoughts are around the whole, yeah, zero management.
Thank you. So you've got hard copies of your
Yeah, and I've got obviously one with the layouts of fields, cricket ground, so not anything to do with what's happening at the race course.
that's still part of the whole where the sports grounds sit and
Yeah,
that's
sports
great.
ground I think is quite important, and just like to leave that for 12.
Cool. I'll get you to hand those to Rory behind you and he can distribute them around to us. So you're about to look up towards you closer. Anyone got any further question or comment for Grant?
Yeah, it would be good just to clarify what did happen to that.
Yeah,
And we considered, I know that we resolved that we made some amendments and changes to be approved and come back to the board for ratification. That was at the August meeting, but I'm not sure what
is that
happened next.
which year? 2015.
5th of August 2015.
2015. Okay. You might be hearing.
You adopt.
The draft Cromwell Sports Parks Reserve Management Plan. Yeah, we did adopt it.
Yes, on the website.
And then there has been further consultation across the district around looking at provision for sports fields and that report last year, which I think is in part linked to this.
That report you referred to was actually done, but I got the benefit of it anyway, so it was done by those entities, and that's been around for quite some time. And I've got a question about car parking. Have people forgotten how to walk? Or am I missing something here?
Depends where you want to walk from, I suppose.
From your place. You should be walking to go and watch the rugby game.
Cromwell in particular for sports, particularly hockey. People come to Queenstown, and you know, they've got to drive. Alexandra, up Clutha, Manitoba. The only people that could walk possibly Cromwell Lounge.
Yeah, no, I hear you, but people that do have to drive to get here, how far is it too far to walk once you get here to park and walk?
Well, I don't know, but you know, the central business district is you know, the parking wardens wandering around there these days. I think that's starting up shortly, so I mean, if they park there, they'll be at risk of getting a ticket.
And if they park for too long on the spot, they shouldn't park. There's plenty of free parking.
Yeah, well, I guess, yeah, I don't see that there's enough parking, and putting a provision for parking, plenty of land, you could make available for parking along Barrier, which wouldn't alter the streetscape at all. Just basically continue the existing ground car parks, which were increased by about 114 parks. That's based on your CODC guideline in regards to district planning.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So it seems that we have a reluctance to walk too far. But in other places, you have to walk quite a way to get something. And when I look at the cost of building car parks, going cheap and what the priority is.
If that's for you guys to decide.
Yeah.
In this process.
No, thank you.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it. And thank you for the providing us with the documents. What are you going to circulate those or?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks. We're going to skip to John McDonald next. Is Joy okay?
Yeah, I'm not here. With Joy, been here, but I'm going to pick up. I'm sorry.
No, you're all good. Just.
Yes. I'd like to sit in.
Sorry, just looking at somebody who's very anxious about speaking, but he'll probably be he just waits for his mum.
Yeah.
Welcome, John.
Thank you. Thank you very much for organising this and allowing me to come and speak today. So my name is John McDonald. I've been on regional councils and all sorts of things in my life. So I've come along here. First thing is I have a conflict of interest. because our family have been leasing the race course for about 21 to 24 years. And we've paid 10,000, even in those days, that's the amount of money we paid to run our sheep. So the ranger used to tidy up the grass, etc., and it's a very good concept for the race course and for us. Right. Now, number two, we find it difficult to understand why the council did not go to the public first to find out what they wanted regarding the race course. I was chair of the Cromwell Golf Club and member over here, and we had a bit of a saga because I'll just give you an idea, it's very similar to this. There was a whole lot of money spent on maps and things, and they were going to shift us on. So anyway, what happened was some of us called a meeting, and the club had no input. We had a meeting and a vote, and 4 were for the idea and 93 against. So what I'm saying is we have to know where we're going with this thing. Right. We understand the council has to look into the future, but not at the expense of existing users, mainly the Pony Club. They now have New Zealand-wide competition, and we must preserve this. Why such a grandiose plan when the ratepayers is already stretched, and the old saying is, take your time, don't rush, slow down. I hear from the rugby club that they don't want to go there. We must keep the horse event in their present layout as it works extremely well. Now, the solution, I understand that you're probably going to do something. Because I'm there all the time, I know that area like the back of my hand. So maybe step 1, that will only affect the sheep grove, which is us and no one else. So the paddock along the roadside down to the airfield is approximately 150 metres wide and approximately 500 metres long. So I would imagine, I'm no expert on this, but I would imagine you would probably get up to 5 sports fields in there. So the outcome would make it habitable to the rate park, number 1. Cromwell would have 4 to 5 extra fields, and all use of the race course would only be very slightly affected. So I thank you very much for the input and allowing us to come along here today. And from the information I've had so far, so thank you very much for that. And I just would say, slow down, listen to the people of Cromwell, your ratepayers, and thank you very much. And also thank you for letting me speak there. I'm sorry I haven't been upsetting because my wife's not too good. So thank you very much.
All right. Anyone got any questions for John before he zooms away?
Just quick one, John. So you sublease the ground you use off the Central Lakes Equestrian Club?
Yeah, it was an official release back in 2003. And so because there's been a lot of land gone off it, we used to have a race course today, airfield. We've just had flat rate. It's just gone up lately, but yeah. So there's no big document nowadays, right? But we have an automatic payment a month ahead, and that's gone on for 20 years.
Thanks.
So, anyway, so thank you for all the work you guys do. I know how much work you do going this. I'm not being criticising. I live there in the daytime. I just want you to understand that it's working amazingly well. The staff have got there amazing. So thank you very much.
And you see other possibilities for where the sports field growth could happen on that land.
Yeah, because it doesn't affect anything else. Anyway, good luck with your decision.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Hopefully Joy's okay. Next we have Laura Shawcross. Yes. Welcome, Laura.
Hello. Kia ora, I'm Laura, and I'm speaking to you as a horse rider, a mother of a horse rider, and the mother of a rugby player, and someone who spent the majority of the weekend at the Cromwell Racehorse Reserve. I've lived in this area since 2004, and in that time I've seen the number of safe and accessible places to ride horses go from numerous to dwindling. 6-metre wide grass verges on country roads and wide open spaces have been replaced by busy highways and subdivisions. Right-of-ways that were tracked into place by horses over decades have been replaced by mixed-use trails, busy with walkers, zooming bikers, and even the occasional e-scooter. It is my wish that the discussion around the use of the recreation reserve land is seen as part of a greater conversation. Looking at all the kinds of recreation happening in our area and how we can support all the groups who wish to have a place here. I would suggest that equestrian sport is in a vulnerable position in this area, with land values at a premium that is becoming increasingly difficult to find places to ride, graze, train, and compete. The coaching and support team of my son's rugby club have never had a difficulty finding places for them to practice or play. However, myself and the other committee members from our local pony club have this difficulty on a regular basis. I've been an active member of a number of clubs advocating for the safe and accessible riding in this district. And so far, the best we've been able to do is hold on to a few previously equestrian-only areas while losing others by agreeing to share them with other trail users. I'm not opposed to mixed-use spaces. If all users approach the situation with care, kindness, and attention, they can be wonderful places of engagement and community. Tobin's Track is a lovely example of this. Horses regularly use the trail along with local visitors, dogs, bikers, and groups of camera-laden tourists. The long-standing culture and uses of the trail have meant that people expect to meet others and are prepared to do so. Not all areas are so fortunate. In this district, I've been verbally abused, nearly run over, had my child kicked by a frightened horse who felt cornered by a vehicle passing too close, and had a man threaten to shoot my horse. Cromwell Racecourse is a refuge for equestrians. It is one of very few remaining safe spaces for us. As mentioned, I've been part of a few groups advocating for equestrian access in this district for some time. I've seen many a project designed to be mixed use, where the official designation means little because the needs of equestrian are either ignored, undermined, or deemed insignificant. As a result, and regardless of the sign on the gate, we don't feel safe or welcome. I'm not saying that the Racecourse Recreation Reserve should be an equestrian-only facility. I am saying we have nowhere else.
Thank you, Laura. Any questions or, yeah.
As someone who's looked for a long time for different spaces, what are some of the biggest barriers to finding alternative locations for pony club events? Like,
there's nowhere on the size and scale, like I know your question about the cross country at Clyde. One of the barriers to that is that it's not big enough to run an ESNZ rated course. Also, for things like cross country, you need undulating ground. And there's a whole lot of other things that go into considering it. I mean, if there was other land available that had some infrastructure in there, right, where is it?
how come private land isn't utilised like it used to be?
People are putting houses on it, using it to make money. There was the riding club that I've been part of in Queenstown used to be run on private land. Now it has a tiny little parcel which we use for the riding club, which isn't big enough to run any events on. It's just basically for training. And I mean, there is very little private land that people make available for this kind of use. And it's not even close to the scale of what we have.
Anyone else? Thank you so much for your time. The next person we have is Kirsty Bree, and Kirsty is also presenting on behalf of Jean Carter, who's unable to be here today. Welcome, Kirsty.
Thank you. So initially, I'm here on behalf of the Boxer Boot Club. So we're based on Queenstown, but we are one of the 5 branches that make up the Central Otago Pony Club, which is based at Cromwell. We are the largest branch. We've got 42 young riders currently with family supporters and a strong volunteer base. We're one of the key users of Cromwell. Pony Club is a youth organisation. It's not for profit and it is volunteer run. The draft management plan states the primary use is racecourse activities and then notes that it is also used for Pony Club events and recreation. We feel that this significantly understates the importance and the frequency of equestrian use. In this example, we were all live for the weekend where we ran a clinic. We brought down a professional coach from Auckland to get our riders the best opportunity to start the season. On any given weekend, you're likely to find the reserved use by equestrians. It's used for rallies, coaching, cross-country training, dressage, show jumping, camps, competitions, and often members stay on site multiple times each season. Training leads to opportunities. Just as we speak, we've got 2 of our riders from our branch overseas in Europe competing for Team New Zealand. They've done very well over there. 2 other members of the wider Central Otago Pony Club, based at Clyde, are also competing in the same competition in Belgium. It's not just a local facility. It's the only cross-country course available for training throughout the year. We're the only course in Central and Southland, and it's the only one that meets the standards to host higher level events. Some events at Cromwell have 100+ entries, many of which come from outside the region, bringing economic benefits to Cromwell. We've got a great facility currently. There is the opportunity that it could be further improved. Irrigation to the cross-country course would prolong how long our season can run for, as would developing an indoor arena to make it a premier equestrian venue for the South Island. Our concerns are that equestrian is at risk of being displaced. Cromwell is growing. We completely understand that. I'm a mum myself. I've got 2 young kids who play sport. We're not opposed to the growth. It's just it could be in different places. Having been there this weekend, the fields alongside the racecourse driving on the left, I think it's 10 on your map, would be a great place for the fields. We feel that wouldn't displace the cross-country course as it stands currently. Unlike team sports, it's not easy for us to move venues. We do require specific infrastructure and space, and we need large, safe spaces. Cromwell is our only space. Our Pony Club does run in private land. We're very lucky to have that available, but there's always that question with private land: how long do you have it? What happens if it becomes sold? What happens in the future? We don't have that security. Today, we're asking for clear recognition and RMT that equestrian is the core use of this reserve, not secondary. Retention and improvement of the cross-country course with the option of irrigation. Genuine engagement with our community, including workshops. Support rather than displacement of our sport. Safe, dedicated space for riding, especially for our youth. Pony Club isn't just about sport. It's about building confidence, responsibility, and connection for our youth. As Central grows, so does equestrian. Please allow the facilities to grow with it. Thank you for your time on behalf of the Pony Club.
Yes.
Are there any examples around New Zealand or worldwide that you can point to where mixed use or shared spaces are being done really well between horses and other users?
Not that I know of. As from my personal submission, which is separate, I am one of those statistics where I've made the newspaper from having an accident involving horses in a multi-use space. I got helicoptered out of the National Showgrounds in Denver because my horse got frightened. I broke my back in the process. But there's none that I know of. Like, I think it could be done in a way that's just making sure that our riders are safe, making sure the public is safe, just having it slightly separate. Like, we do feel like it would be possible. It's just, could that land where the car park is currently looking at being allocated, could that be used even in the medium term plan to put the fields on initially? And then if the growth is needed on the other side, then that becomes an option. But just other ways that it would work better for everyone involved.
And I think it feels like this isn't a short-term thing that's going to turn around in the next 12 months, but it feels like there is maybe the enthusiasm from the equestrian community to be the world leader or the New Zealand leader and how growth can accommodate both of those.
Yeah, absolutely.
Votes.
Yeah, we're already seeing, like, we've got some riders from Central representing New Zealand across the world. A lot of the equestrians that you see at the Olympics, they started at that grassroots pony club level. I'm a rider myself, I'm a coach, I coach professionally and through pony club. My children ride, like, equestrian is more than just riding, it's that inclusivity. It doesn't matter if you're 4 years old or 70, you can still ride together and be part of it. It's a community. We've got barriers like location, get into competitions, not everybody has transport. We make those things work, but if we're having to travel further to train as well as compete, that just removes that accessibility.
Thank you. Neil?
Does the presence of the aerodrome cause issues currently?
No, I don't think so. Yeah. In Queenstown, we've got the planes as well. A lot of our equestrian facilities have the big planes flying over them. And the horses do seem to get used to it. I think there can be occasions where they will spook if there's a new noise. But I think because it's more of a constant noise rather than just something sudden, seems to help with how much it gives them.
Thanks.
Which would be the same as the highway being right next to it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much,
Yeah.
Kirsty. Next, we have Robin. Robin. Oh,
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to have a few words.
you're most welcome.
My particular interest is dealt with actually in the appendix of the relating to Anderson Park in the draft Cromwell Racecourse Reserve Management Plan. So I'm not here to talk about what happened on the Racecourse Reserve, but as a result of it. The current sports club building needs rebuilding, and I understand this process is underway. There is a proposal to have a half-sized hockey turf that was in the draft management plan. In the longer term, addressed by the draft plan, there is a proposal to build a recreation centre out on the reserve. I'm not quite certain, I've forgotten what the date is on that, but it's
Quite a long way in the future.
yeah, I might not even be here. Depending on which demographic prediction is followed, Greater Cromwell will have a population of 11,000 by 2030. There's something I looked up, the only figure that everyone says something different, so I'm not quite sure we don't believe. Wanaka has 13,000 now. Wanaka has 2 indoor recreation centres, Paitara, and the Cromwell, the Wanaka Rec Centre. Cromwell has none. But there are advantages that Cromwell has that Wanaka doesn't have. We have a fantastic layout already. We have a swimming pool, we have a gym, we have a hockey turf, we have a tennis courts, we have 2 rugby fields, we have a cricket field, and a sport club, all within reach of each other. So we do start with a very big advantage. I have measured up the Wanaka Rec Centre. I went over there a couple of times, including the parking. And if the plan I've handed out is looked at, the following could be achieved. With a little shifting, it could be sufficient room for the hockey turf. It's not going to be very popular. We would advance the underutilized rose garden. I last saw someone there in 1998. So,
Of course, Light Up Winter was there, which is a hugely popular.
Yeah, but you don't actually need a rose garden for that, because you need an open space, not a rose garden. Okay. Further playing fields on my plan are retained. This is the vital nexus of the present fund, and the sports club becomes enlarged with a 50 by 50 metre hall which will allow tennis, inside tennis, indoor tennis, 2 courts, volleyball, basketball, netball, badminton, and my particular sport, pickleball, which I really like. There are 8 courts running in one of the centres, and they are full just about at least 3 days a week, sometimes 4. Given the urgency of the replacement of the current sports club, the opportunity to combine them with an indoor sports centre is simply too good to miss. And I'm aware there's been an expression of interest being asked for that piece of land that incorporates that forest to the south of the transfer station and the motorbike park and that. And I think that's going to have a value in the council papers of somewhere around $60–70 million when it's finished. If we could just put sort of a few million of that in a nice big hall that goes with the rugby club, if all this becomes possible. And bearing in mind that Central Italia is actually quite a difficult place for winter sports. The only sports you can really play are rugby, and on an occasionally good day, you can play tennis. But all those other ones, all the indoor sports are not catered for at all, which other centres are in. So please have a look. At the plan, there is enough room with that little piece of 0.39 hectares on the plan, and the 1.46 hectares would actually be bigger than the entire recreation centre that they've got at Wanaka. And Wanaka has a swimming pool. We don't need a swimming pool. We've already got that. The rugby field just gets moved a couple of meters close to the houses. Unfortunately, this is going to interfere with the frisbee golf. The 0.7 hectares, which is the rose garden, could become, if necessary, the half hockey turf, and we still retain the second rugby field. Now, I'm very hopeful that we can actually keep the sports with rugby. Rugby is the sort of the red blood of New Zealand, and it needs to be in the middle of the town. It doesn't need to be stuck out on the place where the ponies interrupt the rugby players. Okay, that's my all. Anyone got any question?
So Robin, just to make it clear, you're saying put a second hockey turf with a rose in that 0.7 hectares?
Not a second hockey turf, a half hockey turf, which is on the plan.
Yeah.
Sorry, 0.75 hectares is the size of a rugby field.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
If it's not, there is certain gentlemen sitting around this table who have had an office who measured this thing a bit, but didn't get it right.
Yeah.
I just said there.
Right.
Okay, and your feeling is that that a very good use of proceeds from endowment land would be the provision of an indoor sports facility?
Yes, I think it's something the Cromwell really needs, and I think the endowment policy actually incorporates in, does allow that, doesn't it? For the betterment of the town.
Yeah.
It's something to consider anyway, isn't it? We can't say yes, it definitely does, sitting around here when we're not making decisions today, Robin, at you. Okay, anyone got further questions for Robin? Oh, thank you so much for your time. It's nice to meet Thank you. Yeah. Paula, if you want to go next. I was just juggling around with some people have seen all our faces and gone, oh no, they're far too scary and gone home. That wouldn't be you at all, Paula, though, would it?
No.
No.
I was sitting in the car playing on my phone. Good afternoon, Secretary of District Council from the Community Board. I am Paula Clark and I'm speaking on behalf of one of them, speaking on behalf of Cromwell Sports Club. The Cromwell Sports Club appreciates the opportunity to provide feedback on the draft Cromwell Resource Reserve Management Plan.
As an active and long-standing contributor to the community, Sport and Cromwell, we are committed to the sustainable growth and development of recreation infrastructure. While we support the intent to plan Cromwell's growth, we write to formally oppose the proposed reconfiguration of Anderson Park and to raise serious concern about the aspect of the reserve proposal. Anderson Park is central to Cromwell's sporting life, serving hundreds of local players and families every week. Its central location, ease of access, and lighting infrastructure make it the most functional and well-used sports hub in Central Otago. The proposal to reduce Anderson Park 2 rugby fields to 1 and to reposition the remaining field so that it no longer has full lighting coverage is a major step backward for the community and community sport and Cromwell. Proposed changes would have significant negative impacts. Reduction in rugby fields from 2 to 1 will limit our ability to host matches and other events and train effectively. The new layer excludes full lighting coverage, eliminating safe, well-lit spaces for night games and evening training. Teams from all across all levels, men's, women's, junior and school age, rely on these lights every night in winter. This includes a schoolgirl rugby, which is currently played under lights on Wednesday nights. Growth of sports across different demographics, including female, junior and under 21 teams, means that more fields with lighting are required, not less. This proposal effectively removes the best lit rugby field in Central Otago from use and severely restricts how sport can be scheduled to give the best opportunities to all participants. There is no mention in the plan of any lighting upgrades or replacement beyond simply noting where lights currently exist. With only 1 field and no guarantee of adequate lighting, where are these teams expected to train or play? The importance of central and connected facilities. Anderson Park's proximity to Cromwell's 3 schools make it a safe, accessible training and playing venue for young people. Having rugby, netball, hockey all played side by side creates a vibrant community atmosphere that contributes to the town's character. These games also bring economic benefit as players and spectators spend money at local businesses before and after matches. Benefit that would likely to be lost if fields are relocated to the racecourse. Replacing a fully functional rugby field with Cromwell's best lights with a hard hockey turf makes little sense, particularly when new hockey facilities have already been developed in Wanaka, Queenstown and Alexandra. Concerns with racecourse reserve proposal. While we acknowledge the potential long-term benefit of additional fields, the current proposal is flawed in several areas. 1, access and child safety. The racecourse is located across State Highway 6, a busy and high-speed route. Even with proposed underpass, children often take shortcuts and safety risks remain real. Anderson Park, central location and safe access via foot or bike from schools is a major advantage for young players and families. Number 2, lack of facilities. There is no clear provision for essential amenities such as accessible toilets near the fields, shelter from the elements, after-match spaces or changing rooms fit for both male and female athletes, and storage for equipment.
although that signal was your time. So you've got a final statement.
Conclusion? It's been quite long, so. I just keep going. You want me to stop?
I'll let you keep going for one more minute. How fast can you read?
I will try. We respectfully request the council, A, retain both rugby fields at Anderson Park. 2, include clear plans for essential facilities. 3, prioritise accessibility and safety. 4, engage directly with the sporting community.
Thank you so much. Oh, sorry, you do need to wait just for a second. So, most of your presentation was around making sure that the provision at Anderson Park remains viable. I know that one of the things that's probably being passed on by staff is that the provision of a half hockey turf has actually been reconsidered in light of other hockey turfs coming around the district. And so the configuration at Anderson Park would remain unchanged. So
We'll be glad to hear.
Well, that's the staff's recommendation.
that's the start. Well, that's a recommendation that we currently have in front of us, is that half hockey
As a
turf
sports
is unlike
public to see that moving out there would be great in the next 20 years. We just don't understand in the 5-year plan.
I think that while rugby may feel, because of the way that tournaments are held across junior rugby, that you don't host everybody all at once, that you probably feel that you've got provision within the town. I know that the junior football who host across the district, each time they have a tournament day, they're struggling to manage on a number of grounds that they currently have. And so I think the consideration about starting this plan off and looking at 5 years into the future is to support the need for the way that tournaments for them are held across the district. It's not a Cromwell decision, it's that whole Central Otago junior football. But certainly there is a lot of consideration being made about what's the right thing to do for Anderson Park, as well as what's the right thing to do out at the racecourse. I know that there is provision, Gordy, correct me if I'm wrong, from my reading of the things, that there is provision there for, and in the staff comments on people's submissions, that there is provision for toilets and storage and those things that will be included out there. So you can't put sports fields without having those sorts of facilities put in place, particularly if you've got those mixed ages, mixed genders. We know kids just get in the car with the bibs still on, but certainly as you go up the grades, people appreciate being able to have a safe place. Anyone else got questions or comments for?
That's what I was going to register.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. Next we have Annalisa White.
Hi, my name is Annalisa White, and I have a personal submission which I wanted to talk about, and I'm also speaking on behalf of the Central Otago Pony Club. I'm a district commissioner and I'm speaking on behalf of E&D, who is the president of Central Otago Pony Club. I won't go through the structure of Central Otago Pony Club because we're obviously quite familiar with that now. But I wanted to speak to you more about the fact that there's a strength that obviously the Racecourse Reserve is our hub for our members, and it's reasonably central in terms of the structure of where all of our club branches are. And just to sort of stress how important the venue is for our members. In terms of the plans, the medium-term plan, we've just sort of had, well, I just organised the weekend with bringing the coach down and the eventing camp for our riders. Now there's just a few aspects to the current plan, sort of as it is in medium term, with regard, particularly, obviously, we're going to lose the paddock of the cross country, which will then prevent us from being able to run for competitions of a certain length. Like for a cross country course, you need 100, like for a meter game has to be a specific length, which that paddock 5, currently what we call the Lutheran paddock, has got probably about 10 jumps of different heights in it, so they go around a circle there. So by taking that out in the medium term, we're all immediately restricted. We had 2 very large events there, Sprintston and the Eventing Champs, and we put $150,000 of fundraising into that course. So on the basis that looking at how the rugby fields and the football fields are positioned and part of the plan, we're sort of assuming that council is paying for those to be put in. But we're just, really asking the question, who is going to pay if we have to relocate, which is the possibility around the racecourse or through the middle of the racecourse, but we just don't have the money, long term, short term, any term, to be able to pull jumps out and actually move them to be able to create space. It is a massive area, and I'm sure we can work together. But the shared use areas, which are labelled number 4, are just right in the middle of equestrian areas. So that isn't going to work, particularly on the longer term plan with that little number 4 there and the number 4, which is currently our games paddock. And was previously mentioned, 4 riders are competing overseas at the moment, internationally, for New Zealand and for Pony Club. Number 7, which again is sort of event space. If our plan is that if paddock 5 was retained, and area number 10 is an absolutely massive space. If we could put rugby fields and football fields in 10, with parking, we really feel that that area is big enough. Number 7, if you've got larger events, that is a massive space. It's not flat. We tried to have show jumping there last year and it didn't really work because it's just not flat enough. Would be another massive area for parking. We were just wondering, what is the use of the rugby and football pitches in number 5 in the summer? Like, there's no rugby or football played in the summer. What is the use and how are those paddocks going to be maintained? They could be used for parking for larger events. If it's a cross country, if the cross country course remains, we're quite happy as long as we get notice to alert our members that they're not going to be able to train there at that time. And you could use that as more of a shared space for parking, which is obviously an issue of Cromwell. In terms of the centre of the racecourse, 8 and 9 are the wrong way round. The land we currently use when we're running any competition is in the middle of the racecourse in area 9. And that's it starts off quite nice, and then as you get further out, a lot of work would need to be done to that grass. But we would really ask that we swapped 8 and 9 over so that we got to use 9, because 8 is again really just, it's not big enough space wise, and it just wouldn't work in terms of running horse competitions in that area, especially if you're getting up to sort of reasonably large numbers. So the water is a major issue. At the weekend we couldn't have any water because that's currently on town supply. So the caretaker wasn't able to build a water jump for us, and actually all of the horse riders were there could only get water out of one tap. So we're asking that if he's going to provide water for a large number of people, but we really do need a feasibility study on how we're going to actually find that water. They have looked at getting a bore, but the bore there isn't enough water there to supply even just the racecourse for the racing. So again, that is a real serious consideration for everybody that's going to use it in a shared environment. And again, the cost of shifting across country is just, we just can't see how that's going to work if we have to do that. Thank you.
Raised quite a lot of things for us to think about there.
And it's really about the plans. It's not like Pony Club is this great youth organisation and we're happy to have shared use, but it's just the way it's looking at the moment. It really does. Can I just say one last thing? You have actually left the whole Cromwell Pony Club arena off the map in the medium term, which is there now, and they're using it currently. And it's between the grazing paddocks and the yards where you've got number 3. It's between 1 and 3. You've completely missed off the Cromwell Pony Club arena, which they paid money, and it's got hard surface and jumps. And then it sort of cuts out across country. So that really does need to be included.
Okay.
quite happy to help.
No, that's cool. I mean, I feel like your presentation was very much around, okay, so if this is going to happen, how can we make it happen in a way that we can work together and find solutions that support expansion of sports fields for the Cromwell community and look after equestrian activities so that they're safe and that enough space is retained to accommodate those uses.
Thank you.
Is there, in terms of what's written in the plan, one of the recommendations is, or one of the things that has been, sorry, Sarah, throw the pen away, talked about is what happens if things need relocating. And I think that there has been some talk around the fact that support would be given for the relocation of things like jumps and the reset up of that has to be included somewhere in the funding that's put into this plan, so that if there is the need to relocate jumps and to reconfigure your cross-country track, that we would need to.
That support is financial.
That would be my understanding. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I just had one question. Does the pony club have any access to the racetrack?
But we can only cross it and go in the middle of it. We don't use the rest.
You can't use it for whatever thing, you're not permitted to access that part of the reserve.
The bit you said, but it's not shown, is that the, within number 8, is that where you're about?
The problem pony club.
Yeah.
That area is current, what's like where it is now.
Look up behind you at the max up on the screen. Oh,
Yeah, so it's in there, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
And I don't know, it is actually probably quite a bit bigger, like where this grazing field here does not touch the corner. So that's the yard, big yarding area at the moment, and there's a road that comes through here and the men's club is here. And then, so this is much further set back at the moment in terms of the current grazers, and that's why that area has been swished out. So that would potentially come back to here, and then we would have, well, the Cromwell Pony Club location would fit a bit better in.
Yeah, okay, cool, thanks.
Do you understand about the shared use here, that is, again, we don't know what multi-use on the map is actually talking about, and here, and then on the longer term one, it's a much more in between the yarding, so where the grazing paddocks on 1 and then 4, but it's sort of quite a large area has gone from medium term to longer term.
Yep.
Have we got long term up there? So suddenly that area that was 4 here has gone to this little area, which is currently like, well, I mean, currently it's the road, but again, very close to that, yeah. Does that make sense?
Any comment from anybody about water?
Yeah, well, so water, we will be doing a,
Yeah.
we need water. One, the sports fields go on the irrigators, so we need water, which will do that.
And it sounds like there was
And
quite
other
a
parts of it.
significant lack of water at the race course over
Yeah.
the weekend.
Yeah, I'm not, I
Yeah.
don't know why that is.
So I mean, they're just lining you for.
Yeah.
Not the drawings, don't you, though?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah, because I mean, they said there's a substantial total they bought.
If town supply, are they not able to access water, or they don't want to access the water?
So it's actually a cubic metre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not economic.
Question club manage that side of it.
Water comes from the dam, but obviously at some year the dam level is lower.
Yeah.
And so they switched to town supply so that they basically are keeping water in the dam for what, so our next ODE is on the 14th of September. And we will have 120 kids of people at that event. So, and I asked the caretaker at the weekend, when is it switching back over? And he wasn't 100% sure. But it's going to have to happen between now and month.
My question is really, is that an economic decision that they've made rather than an actual, if you're on supply, town supply, because you've got to pay for water?
Yeah.
Is that because they don't want that additional cost for running the event? I don't know, that's just a question.
But the land at the race course, like in terms of using just for training the cross country, we have to really look at how hard that ground gets and to think about the amount of water you would need to keep that soft is quite seriously consideration you need to put into play, yeah.
Any further questions?
I can answer the question back to my pony club if you like, just, so that is on, it is on private land. It is not particularly well managed, just because Clyde Pony Club is quite small pony club. So they're responsible, and one of the main is rabbit holes, because it's up and down, and not grazed or looked after particularly, and that's why they're just not big enough, club to be able to, and the ground it's on is very sandy, holy, and
It would need a lot of work. There is definitely a part of that is on council land, because the community board, it's been approved, there is a lease in place, and it's council land there. So I guess looking forward, there might be the ability for some funds to be put into upgrading that. It's not for the purpose at the moment.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that it couldn't be.
they're only running a training day this year because they can't get the races, and it just takes the liability away from them by not trying competitions. So
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Next time, thank you.
Right, who are we next? We're going to have Brenda reading, and she's going to be on the phone, not. She's going to be on the phone.
Hi Brenda, it's Sarah. We are ready to use the bit now. I'm just going to put you on speakerphone and hopefully everyone will be able to hear.
Welcome, Brenda. Go ahead, proceed.
Well, my name is Brenda Reed. I work with what Happy Horse Therapy and the medical clinic. They develop the cancer research and statistics. And I think the title should be Cromwell Race Course and Equestrian Reserve Management Plan. The development should be for the purpose of equestrian sports and activities to ensure equestrian activities are the primary and main purpose of the reserve. The reserve has got a great 163-year history of equestrian sport and racing, and it's well utilised. There are 12 race meetings a year. There is a waiting list for the horse grazing, which indicates at least more land for equestrian users, not less. I agree with the improvement of planting for shelter from weather to support equestrian users. I would disagree that it's a multi-user site, as it seems to be added as by itself, and it was never its primary purpose. Pony paddocks could be set aside and a little bit more development for horse tourism. I think that's an untapped potential for there, because people come to camp with their horses for the purpose of riding nearby bridle trails or dog tracks, and this would be intermingled with those same tourists doing other tourist activities if they have a safe and suitable yard or pen for their horse during the day. I don't believe the cross-country schools should be realised and have the space to accommodate non-equestrian sports fields, as those fields can be created elsewhere. I feel like future development should be owned for equestrian users, as they are already a marginalised bush group, and other recreational needs should be developed on other land. The plan for 2030 shows the reduction of on-site grazers and the reduction of area for the cross-country course, and this is even further reduced on the 2045 map. So that means that they're being further marginalised. The equestrian purpose of the space needs to remain and further protected, not reduced. It might state, people have said the Reserve Act might be outdated, but I think that's only by age, and I have read it. It's not by purpose, and it makes provisions to make changes as needed, but only for the purpose of equestrian users. Horse sports and horse riding are not activities that should be mixed because safety is paramount. Equestrian users are in range from 2 years old to 92 years old, so it's a very inclusive community. And there is also mention in the draft plan about other space for skated bike parks. It makes no sense to include them in the equestrian reserve. I support it being a smoke and vape free space. That's my presentation. Are there any questions?
Any questions, people?
So did I hear you say that there should be no multi-use, it should be solely equestrian?
It has been for the last 163 years, so I don't see any need to change it because it's fully utilised. by equestrian users, whether it's pony clubs, riding clubs, adult riding, on racetracks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Thank you so much for phoning in. Brenda, we appreciate your time.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, Gemma. Gemma.
Apologies, my lateness.
You're all good. Welcome, Gemma.
My name is Gemma Smith. I'm a member of the Central Tiger Pony Club. I'm a former town planner, Wakatipu Basin resident, and we've been in my family, a regular Cromwell racecourse reserve users. We are long-time users of the Cromwell Racecourse Reserve through the Central Tiger Pony Club with my family, using this facility monthly for over a decade. I strongly support the continued development of this important community asset, but there are several areas of concern that I'd like to highlight. Recognition, my first point is that recognition as a regional equestrian hub. The Racecourse Reserve is unique in the lower half of the South Island. It's one of the only cross-country facilities that we have the ability to train in throughout the year. Most other facilities are closed, other than maybe 3 or 4 weeks post competition, because these are mainly on private land pretty much from Dunedin down. The closest facility that we have of this nature is in Canterbury. So when we're trying to grow youth sport and we're trying to access facilities to train on, if we have this facility reduced in scale or accessibility into the future, we are reducing the training ability for those of our athletes who are wanting to aim higher to get regular access to a range of equestrian facilities in terms of particularly cross country that we don't have anywhere else in the lower half of the South Island. There has been, so the Racecourse Reserve is unique. It hosts clinic, rallies, competitions, exams, and veterinary visits. We have a limited access to equine vets in this area, and we have a lot of vets that travel from out of region, and that is where we meet them to do exams, procedures, because it's safe and it's a well set up equine facility. Significant public and private investment has been made in the cross-country course and related facilities, supported by national funding and countless volunteer hours. This contribution must be recognised and safeguarded in future planning. Governance and management. Council has indicated a need to change the management model. Any new governance structure must include experienced equestrian voices at decision-making level, be collaborative and transparent across youth groups, retain the knowledge and long-term vision of existing stakeholders, particularly CLEC. It is concerning that CLEC was not consulted prior to wider consultation. Future processes need to engage with core stakeholders earlier. 3, protecting facilities and scheduling. Proposals for new sports fields, risk encroaching on the equestrian cross-country area. Reducing the space would compromise Cromwell's ability to host regional and national events. We've hosted 2 significant competitions in the last 5 years that significant resources have been put into, one being the National Pony Club Championship eventing champs, and Sprints and Trophy was also held here 2 years ago, which is the South Island Pony Club Championships. We asked for impact assessments on how land use changes affect equestrian activity and protection of cross-country infrastructure. Flexibility and shared space design and preservation of long-standing equestrian event dates which fit into wider South Island calendars. Water access and irrigation. Water is already constrained. New sports fields will increase in demand, but irrigation of the racecourse interior is critical for safe footing in equestrian sport. Ideally, I do believe there's a strong drive that there would have areas in the future of the cross-country course that would be irrigated as well, which would extend the seasonality that we
currently experienced with the use of this particular area of the reserve. And we request that preservation of existing water rights and the development of a comprehensive water management plan to ensure multi-user sustainability. Fireworks. We strongly oppose fireworks at the reserve. The presence of horses and other animals makes it unsafe. The risk to animal welfare and public safety are too high. Fireworks and horses simply do not go together. It is bonkers to even consider having this venue as a fireworks display location. Access and affordability. To keep events viable, especially grassroots youth sport, we need ongoing access for horse stays and temporary camping, flexibility for food, coffee vendors at events, user fees and booking processes that remain simple and affordable. In conclusion, the Cromwell Racecourse Reserve is a regionally significant equestrian venue, serving not just Cromwell but the wider South Island. With genuine consultation, thoughtful governance and balanced infrastructure planning, the reserve can continue to evolve while protecting its core equestrian identity. Thank you for considering my points.
Any questions, people?
I've got a comment to make, if you don't mind. Excuse me. The reserve management proposed plan, it says on page 29 that as future development introduces a broader range of recreation uses and community access, the management model may need to evolve. Doesn't mean it's going to change, but the Central Lakes Equestrian Club currently manage the reserve. They've got a lease in place until 2042, I believe. So certainly nothing's going to change until then. And my understanding of this is that management of sort of equestrian items would actually remain with them. But if there were sports fields there as well, that the council would take over responsibility for them. Am I correct or not? Is that not correct?
That's what we're proposing.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's not going to be any change to the management, if you like, of equestrian items.
In terms of your booking system
Yeah.
and those
Yeah, so that is going
things,
to,
that would, well, that's the recommendations and what's in the plan at the moment, is that the management of equestrian bookings and ensuring that, you know, you're able to do that will remain through the CLEC.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it does state that there's going to have to be obviously some dovetailing of those things, because you're talking, and certainly the previous presenter talking about when things are scheduled, so that you know that you're not going to have crossovers between sports and cross country, or that there's going to be ability to
I'm not saying that equestrian sports have to exclusively have this. I understand being former town fan of the pressures and living in Queenstown, right? We understand the pressure of growth and needing to accommodate other recreational demands and what have you. I think there needs to be further clarity around how all of that works, and particularly with larger scale events, community events on site. And I think so long as those aspects are considered and allowed for, given the history of the site, it would be, I think, of comfort to know that those calendar dates that have been set for a very long time, that they have priority when it comes to maybe conflicts with completion of the dates of larger non-equestrian activities wanting to be on site at the same time.
And of course, some of those things become operational once it's negotiated.
That's right. Yeah, and I think that's where the concern lies, is that where does the power of decision making lie once there is a greater mixed use on site. And I think that's what the equestrian community is probably looking for, some certainty around.
Any further questions or comments? Thank you so much for your time. Thanks for coming over.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sorry, Olivia. We've got Olivia Kerr next. Who's been missing the list was going to speak at once. So apologies, Libby.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm not too formal, so sorry about that, but look, I'll just get into it. I'm Lydia Kerr, I'm speaking on behalf of my family and as a, I suppose, concerned equestrian member of the community. I come from Beaumacow and travel to Cromwell. Cromwell regularly for my two stepchildren's hockey twice a week at the moment, so understand the pressures of trying to get kids sport all in one place when you've got different ages and bits and pieces. That's tricky. But look, the proposed management plan in its current form would be quite devastating for the Central Otago equestrian community and our ability to host safe events for our youth riders and for our wider community, as well as being able to attract people to our area that are interested in equestrian sport. Our community is small but mighty. Yes, we don't fit 16 horses on a soccer field beside that, but that does not mean that we are any less worthy than any other sportsmen in our area. We've got really, really talented riders within our area. We've produced riders that are now competing at international level. If we are unable to host facilities that can and events that can foster these kids to grow and hone skills, then we won't see our local kids thrive and go well in sport. That shows. Cromwell Racecourse has been home of equestrian sport for 160 years. In recent years, we've ranked this up just last year, having our first ECT affiliated show jumping event. This had riders coming from Canterbury and South and Otago into our local area economy and supporting our sport. It's a huge one for our community, a huge boost for our local riders, and particularly our youth riders, seeing these high level show jumpers being able to come compete in our area. The proposal, while it appears to maintain land for equestrian activity, has not allocated sufficient space or safety process to ensure that the facility is useful for our equestrian activities. Local riders will need to travel over 2.5 hours to Dunedin or Invercargill to be able to compete safely, and this is the main push. My proposals around safety of our horses, riders, and other users, be they canines or riders. To travel 2.5 hours towing horse float for horses is a really expensive exercise. It's not sustainable for the average family, and not for our sport to be able to continue to thrive. It would discourage families from pursuing equestrian sports, which is already touted as expensive. My stepdaughter's 11. She's just started riding. We chose to target the dressage at Cromwell Racecourse for her first events because there's lots of space. It's a really quiet place. It's a great area for young horses and young riders to be able to have a good go at the first event. When there's too much noise and things going on, they are playing and that pressure in an environment tends to explode things. The other part around our current facility is the cross-country course, which I'm sure we've heard a lot about today already. Our cross-country course is one of the highest level ability cross-country courses in the South Island. We've just lost Donovan Park down in Invercargill to housing, and so we're no longer able to go down there and compete to a high level. We now need to go to Canterbury to be able to push up levels, which is untenable. For some people that are serious about riding, it's just going to push us back to Canterbury. It's something that I know myself and our family will be considering because it's untenable to do things that we like to do here in Central. The current proposal recognises the equestrian activity, but it doesn't protect it, and it doesn't protect people or animals involved. The risk to human and horse life is critical, and if it is carried out in a way that is currently proposed, then the Cromwell Council will be in the headlines for all the wrong reasons. Horses are large flight animals mixed with an uneducated public, untrained and unfamiliar dogs, noisy and unpredictable events. It's a recipe for disaster, and a disaster that will be fatal, and it's not a matter of if, it is a matter of when, whether it's human, horse or canine life. Those at the grazing at the facility already have issues with wandering public, horses being fed things that they're not meant to, and injuries on horses due to, again, this wandering public. And at the moment, traffic for the public through the facility is relatively low. What we're asking to do here is to really back that up. So just around that feeding animals, and I'm not going to go into the detail too much, but basically horses have really sensitive stomachs. They can't throw up. If they get a tummy ache, they die. So and we've only got a large equine vet, a specialist equine vet in Alexandra. So the herd come out is over $100 to Cromwell, and then we've got fees on top. If they need a surgery because a really well-meaning member of the public wants to feed a bag of chippies to that really cute pony, that's an $8,000 surgery. So who pays the bill on that? Is it
That beat was the end of your time, so if you want to wrap it up, that'd be great.
Okay. Yeah, fireworks already been done. Dog policies way too lenient. My suggestion would be that there is a dog park included over by the aerodrome. It would solve a number of problems. Existing infrastructure strained. Also around the hockey turf, what we're already doing in Alexandra, and there's a hub turn at Homercare. I don't see the point in adding in all of those. Adding anything extra into Cromwell. There's already money going to facilities elsewhere. My alternative for you guys that want to be constructive is that you split the property into two pieces using the central driveway there. Just as a guide, retaining the towards the hill is the equestrian only facility that keeps all of the grade and the cross-country course, the floats, parking, camping, all of that, stables, yards, stay as is. We've moved the dressage competition into that hub. And we have really good fencing around it, probably very good fencing to prevent dogs coming through. On your other side, then you can go for on the multi-use that you want to do. Still no fireworks, but retain the racetrack, obviously that needs to be used for the sport, but inside the racetrack, I've put the parking along where you've got 6, 7 there, or you could put it down to 10, where 10 and 11 is, or up here to 1, and then just you can fill that with all of the sports fields that you like and multi-purpose use. But there will be my alternative, and that we can still have a large space that's suitable for horses and is safe and keeps everybody excluded and sorry for rambling on.
Thanks. Any questions yet?
I spend quite a lot of time watching badminton. I'm Kelly. It's a very enjoyable sport to watch. Do you think that when you have large scale events come in, so you've got national competitions, that could be catered for within this kind of revamp, and that you're putting a lens of this is a horse event only over a weekend, say, recognising that for most of the rest of the year wouldn't necessarily need the entire reserve? Do you think that could be catered for with appropriate planning?
Yes, I think in terms of having, if you split the two areas, you can still run your national scale event in that second half and be able to run your corresponding event, whether it be, you're not interfering with your Saturday soccer games or whatever that may be. It will take a bit of planning. But yeah, that's, I suppose, my point about keeping the equestrian facility as a standalone, let it operate, let us continue to grow our sport.
Yeah, I kind of mean, could it be some of that be a dual purpose reserve? So you've got your equestrian, and on the weekends that there's a big event on, it comes through into the rest of the area, which is then not being utilised for anything else. It's just equestrian for that weekend.
Yeah.
And then the following weekend, when you don't have an area, actually there is, whatever it is on that part of it, and equestrian station up smaller.
Yeah, I think you could. I think when you've got races there that lead right across the reserve, and you have at the moment ad hoc bookings, people can book, night every day off and go, right, you're going to Stowe to go right, we've got frisbee golf and cross country course, unless it's something that brings in a lot of revenue, I suppose, to ensure that the grounds stay irrigated or something like that. Yeah. I mean, anything's possible, but yeah, like I say, to me, the most important thing is ensuring that our young riders still have an opportunity to be able to compete in sport safely.
Anything further? Thank you so much for your time. David. Oh,
Did I have to give them more? Tina Coleman. That's Tina Coleman, with the guys at the back here, the backroom boys. Thanks for making it this. And, yeah, good to see you guys here. Yeah. I'm coming in my capacity as a rent player of 49 years. Beside that, in the day, I was a member of the local pony club, and it's really good to see the pony club really thriving. I'm very familiar with the race course at the site, and in the day, we used to have gymkhanas as well. We used to use the racetrack, and maybe there's potential there for steeplechasing sometime. 2 race meetings a year. Oh. So, anyway, yeah, well, that's my introduction. Yeah, I'm going to be quite brief actually, and start off with a master plan, $1.87 million. Bob's gone, but Bob may not have been here if it hadn't been for the golf course issue. He's a good member anyway, he would have come anyway, I'm sure. But that created a lot of havoc in the community at the time. I'd like to just sort of recommend the policy that council has on open spaces and the work they did on open spaces and the racecourse area and the airport and there's a helicopter pad there now. You know, that's an open space, which whereas a lot of other parts of the valley are getting built in and building. Our war memorial, capacity, traditional capacity, 600 to 800 people. Now probably 1,200 and growing. We lost that prime site. We've lost the parade ground that was there in the ceremonials that took place around there with all the different groups and schools and that would come. And we've lost a lot of mana there. Facing a war memorial over the sewage works or the sewage plan is not good. I won't be going. I'm a member of the RSA. I will not attend there for my family and tell my family not to. You know, that's been done. It's done and dusted. The speedway, and all our local sort of icons really, the speedway is under pressure at the moment. We're aware of that, and we're hopefully trying to discuss and debate that in a very friendly, happy sort of scenario. We don't want to have, you know, aggressive, we don't want to have people picked on, that sort of thing, especially on social media. It's a very easy mark there. And I think some of us in Cromwell are working hard to try and create an atmosphere there and to try and promote our older local kaupapa, our culture, which goes back 800 years in this area. Like it or not, the museum will tell you otherwise, but people have been living here continuously since about 1250, and we can prove it. So regarding the sports grounds, the soccer grounds and the rugby grounds, there are other alternative sites that could be considered. And partly why I'm here, I appeared at a hearing a while ago on some other topic, mainly really just to get a feel and to promote the idea of the consultation, which I'm seeing here today. It's really heartwarming to hear it after probably, you know, been through the Klein Dam era as well. That was difficult to come out of that and then come through this phase. I come through as, you know, I spent 3 years at the Scarf engineer, and I am a volunteer. I've never been paid, a voluntary relief worker, and I've had lots of experience in this area. And a lot of local knowledge comes with it. I think that's important too, especially when it comes to layout and sites and situations. And you look at the what you call it, the beetle reserve. You know, how viable is that as a beetle reserve, and can it be changed? Not likely. But we've done I did a bit of a study of that and got a scientist to come forward and kind of wrap it up for us, really. You know,
So what would your alternative sites be? What would your alternative sites be?
There is a reserve opposite the transfer station. A big paddock in there. It was where the tip materials were dumped. It's probably surplus to any other requirements because of that. And that would be an example.
That'd be the name that's owned by the Polytech.
Yeah. Society.
No, surplus that's owned by the Polytech.
There's a space in there and it's worthless in terms of its value. That's an example. I don't go into that. Was just an example.
Okay, but that's your time. So if you
Thank
want to
you.
wrap it up, has anyone got any?
Just to wrap it up, I'd just like to recommend that perhaps Community Board holds over decision until after the election. And there may be one or two changes in the ranks, see, but you know what I mean. But yeah, just holds it over. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. Any questions?
No.
Thank you so much for taking the time to come and speak with us today. Tash.
Guys, I won't be, I won't say long. I just would like to thank you very much for the opportunity. I guess for me, I mean, everybody's got their own agenda. For me, like just looking outside the square and being depressingly involved in netball courts, there is nowhere where we have an indoor facility with lots of netball courts. So it would be exciting to have somewhere, but I just ask that when we do it well, that we have more than just two, because netball is growing, all sports are growing, but we just have the trouble where we do a monitor at the moment currently that there's only two courts, and of course we're time restricted. So just going forward, wherever we go, we do it well and have the facility that will probably pay for itself regardless, because with the way netball's growing, people want to use it for trainings and things like that. So yeah, we just that that we do it well and maybe do it the hard way first by doing extra and looking for extra funding or whatever to pay for it. So then it's done. And that's it. Thank you very much. Would you have any questions?
So for netball, would it be multi-use, not just netball, could do other stuff as well?
Yeah, you could. I mean, don't get me wrong, if you look at the facility in Wanaka, they have pickleball that uses it. Like we get up there on a Thursday or Friday night, pickleball in there, especially in the weekends. They have basketball in there. You know, the clubs up there are looking for a training spot with the rec and the pack centre, it's fully booked. And if we want to schedule a game, we have to go into somebody's training time because it is fully booked and we are time restricted up there as well. And we only have two courts at the rec centre and two courts at the pack centre. So, and they have rock climbing and all that too. So there's lots of multi-uses for it. I mean, you know, like we only have the school gym here for, as a netball court, and it's not a netball court. So yeah.
You might not know. Are there netball lines in the stadium in Alexandra on that court?
I have no idea, to be honest. I know it's basketball. Like there is basketball there, but the thing is you've got basketball using it, you've got indoor folks using it, you've got, you know, the gymnastics using it. I mean, even to get a hold of the dancing gym is really hard because that's fully booked. You've got to look at it because everybody's using it.
And that's the challenge when everybody wants to use it on the same night.
Yeah.
I can get that.
Yeah.
But netball can't necessarily play at 10 AM on a Tuesday.
No, because they're at school.
So in summary, the days of the Cromwell College Gymnasium being our indoor multi-event sports centre are well gone.
Gosh,
Without
well,
going down.
to be honest with you, it is. And to be honest, Neil, it's not a proper netball court.
No,
You
no.
actually can't go up for the rebound at either side and you can't get enough light down there. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, guys. And have a good day.
Thank you. Okay. We're running a bit ahead, eh? Pardon? Peter, would you like to speak now?
Yes.
Perfect. Come and join us.
Good afternoon, I'm Peter McDougall. I'm going to change talking from horse to horsepower. I am a trustee of Wheels of Wanaka,
and we've had our last event there. And, I was speaking to an employee of the council, and I was giving them a wind up about, something to do with rates. And I said, have you got anywhere to hold our next event, 2027? And she said, yes, there's two gentlemen, they're both here, who will ring you. So we've met twice, we've been out at the race course, we've looked at it, and it would be a very good site for 2027 and beyond if we can put it together. But speed of the going forward is most important, because if another community in the South Island picked it up, then we've lost the opportunity. But if you put up the plan, please,
The before one, the medium plan. That one.
Now you've got a track in number 4 there. Yep, that one will do. The other thing that I've got the results of the Wheels of Fire in 2025. I've taken the financials out of these. I will give them to you so that you can read them at your spare time. When you look at the West Australia Vintage Club, we used to have an event every 4 years at the Tapanui Racecourse, and we would have all our vintage tractors, our traction engines, etc. And we were dealing with the same number of people, small number of people. We were trying to raise money to fund our museum, and you will certainly know the costs of running a museum. So we made a decision to look at taking our tractors to where the people are. That's how we ended up in Wanaka. We went and looked at Wanaka. We decided that we could go there. Then they said, come and meet Alan Dippy. He's got a collection of vintage tractors. At that stage, he had 26. He's got the disease worse than I have, because I don't think he knows how many tractors he's got now. I've only got a shed full, and my family won't let me build another shed. But that's how we started there, and then it grew. And with those tractors, traction engines, and trucks. If we came to Cromwell, I haven't spoken to the car people, because they already have a very good car show here. Highlands Park, they partnered with us in Wanaka, and they've got, of course, their facility here. So we don't want to stand on anybody's toes. And the big machinery people, there's a piece out here beneath the hill, there above 2, where you could make a very good sandpit where the big heavy machinery could put on their display. It would cost you the fencing of that if we went there. But the big machinery guys are prepared to build the pit, and they would build the tractor pull facility at no cost to the council. It would cost you a security fence from the main gate up to the corner and along the back of the racecourse reserve, and we would have to fence off the irrigation pond. That would be a cost that the council would have to. I don't know, I haven't got away with it not being fenced off. We don't. We go with alternative gears to Warbirds. So it's, yeah, you can actually take that home and read it in your own time. The thing about that is that if you look at the number of people that come into the district and the benefit to the hospitality people, they generate a tremendous amount of money.
So that beeping was your time, so wrap up the presentation and then we'll have some questions.
Right, the thing is, yeah, I would like, well, I want to talk about number 4, area number 4, because we need a playground built.
Questions?
I have no questions. The response from the staff is that the plan won't not enable this sort of thing. And it's more of an operational matter going forward, so.
I do worry about you putting a sandpit in the.
The operation may be different.
Yeah, because that's currently the cross-country track that you heard a lot about, probably sitting there today. So putting a sandpit in the cross-country track might not go down too well with our.
No. When we went and looked at it, the cross-country jumps, we would have to ship them aside for while we had trucks and tractors on display, that they could be simply put back after the event. Right? There's nowhere where we drove around and had a look where we're going to upset their cross-country course.
Okay.
Okay, well, that was actually my sort of question. Because you sat there and listened to the passion from the equestrian members and riders. And so how would the noise and the other distractions, how do you think that would go down with them? Because I don't know, I've never been to the event in Wanaka, so I don't know how noisy it is. How do you think the two events could coincide?
Where the big machinery would be working, there is a row of old pine trees there, and they would certainly deaden the noise. And the noise isn't great.
Probably wouldn't want to try and ride your horse that day, but it's, I don't think you'd run the two events on the same day.
Yeah.
And so you're saying it's not going to be too difficult to move.
To move the jumps,
Yeah.
they would have to rebuild their jumps so they could be movable, and you would simply pick them up. You got GPS exactly where they were, pick them up and ship them, store them at the side, and then after we've completed, put back the jumps where they are.
If they have to be rebuilt though, to become movable, so that they're not going to want to pick up the tab for that. So who's going to be, don't get me wrong, I think, you know, where you're coming from sounds very interesting. I just wonder.
It wouldn't be an impossible job to do, because before any of those events, they will rebuild their jumps. I would imagine so, don't they?
Not quite sure.
Yeah, probably they do. Yeah. The best thing going forward would be to have an on-site meeting at what.
What sort of numbers would you expect? You know, spectator wise to get there at the event?
In 2025, we were consented to have 65,000 people.
Right.
And we proved that you can't have that in Wanaka. Wanaka won't handle that number of people. So I would go back to our 2025 numbers where we had 45,000 people. And a turnover in the community of about 30 million, because they put out a survey and work out exactly how much money's been spent. Yeah. And that's the spin of it. When you look at where people came from across New Zealand, and that's in that I highlighted the North Islanders on that list. They bought bulldozers from Whangarei.
Sorry, it's not really just a question. I'm just really wanting to know from Gordy, how would these two, is it possible that the equestrian and sports field and the wheels on Wanaka would all actually be on these grounds? Could they coincide?
Well, there's two things. The sports field is a few years down the track, but the rest of it's a I guess it's, you said, a meeting of the main users to see what we can make work. Because it is like a cheap, it is a show of vehicles, really tractors and trucks and bits and pieces. So they, a lot of them are stationary. If you go and look at, and the other, then there's the truck, the big truck that up the far end. If that happens, and maybe that doesn't happen. I don't know. We haven't even talked about
Yeah,
that.
well, you think that the Alpha Street grounds manage a car show every year, don't they? So, I mean, they have sports grounds through the winter.
When we built the playground at Three Parks in Wanaka, we built it too small. We should have built it big enough to house a full rugby paddock on the grass area in the inside of the track, right? If you did that here in number 4 and you built the playground there and you had it big enough to have a full-size rugby paddock there, I spoke to these guys about it and said, just look to the future, put a cricket pitch in the middle of it, put your 4 lighting towers there. Imagine what you could do at Cromwell. You could have day-night rugby, you could have a 2020 cricket match, or you could have the New Zealand pipe bands under lights on that ground. You know, the opportunities going forward are huge.
Any further questions?
I'm pleased I'm last.
Last for the moment, there'll be people arriving any second for the next round. Thank you so much for coming and presenting to us. That's a lot to think about.
It's a totally different
Yeah.
thing for the racing.
And I suppose it's can this coexist with current activities at the race course is the biggest question.
Yeah.
Without upsetting all the people who've already spoken today.
Yeah. The best thing I think going forward would we have an on-site.
Yeah.
Yeah, where we have Paul Clark, the heavy machinery guy, and we talk about it. Yeah. I mean, at Wheels of Wine, we had 700 trucks, and that's displayed. And all those people spend money back here in the community.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Neil. Good luck in your one.
Thanks, Brendan. Yeah, I'll come and check out your tractors.